Hello, everybody. This is Secular Sekai with Tridents Against Tyrants, and I hope that everybody had a good week since the last stream. A lot of stuff has happened, a lot of stuff to talk about, as is the case pretty much every week. um, First thing, there's a few things I want to address right quick before we jump into the news. So first, you'll notice that our progress bar is still where it was last week. I am checking with Anton about that to make sure we've got everything ready to transfer. So I sent him a message because it's been an extremely busy week. You might have noticed the update hadn't gone up yet because I still was waiting to hear back more from Anton about because we had one donation over Buy Me a Coffee, but I don't know. That might have been the only. I don't know if that was the only donation or not. If we got any over PayPal, we don't have alerts that show up here on the screen. So if you did donate over PayPal, not this stream but last stream, let me know in the comments. And I'm reaching out to Anton so we can make sure we've got all of that squared away and everything transferred over. Because I know that if you recall last stream, we recently had a withdrawal of funds and organizing equipment, getting all of that ready to send over. And we were sending that to another unit that the 110th Mechanized Brigade requested us to send it to, who are actively fighting because the 110th are currently on, or they were on rotation at the time. And so, yeah, per their request, we sent the last batch of funds that were withdrawn over to another unit. Hello, everybody. Let's see. Nikki, last one, 207. CF Beauty, Real Dave C Man. Well, Cheryl Watley, Blonde Bombsheller. Welcome, everybody. All right, and so it is day 787 of the illegal invasion of the sovereign nation of Ukraine. Next thing that I want to jump into right quick, this is important, and many of you have probably heard about this. Yeah, let me do this and hop over to it. Need to share my screen with you guys in 1 sec. This is an important piece of news as well that I want to cover, and I want to put a message out for everybody so that they're aware of it. Because I know a few other channels have mentioned it already as well. All right. Oh, thank you very much. Slava Ukraini, greetings from Finland, from Keijo Vainonpa. Bought 5 coffees, which would be about 25 US dollars. Thank you very much. I'm going to message Anton because I know with Buy Me a Coffee, withdrawals happen on a certain date. And for Ukrainian accounts specifically, withdrawals have to be done through one service, the only service that actually is basically allowing Ukrainians to use Buy Me a Coffee. So, because there's more than one back-end payment option or company that works through Buy Me a Coffee. But thank you very much. As a reminder, as always, I always will promote donations that go to soldiers before anything that goes to the channel in the lower left. you'll see information about Buy Me a Coffee for Anton, and sending coffees there will be sent to the 110th, or if they request it, to another unit of soldiers serving at the front line. And we're still working toward the goal of 110 FPV drones. And then upper left, you'll see information if you would like to support the channel on Buy Me a Coffee. Upper right, you'll see every once in a while information for PayPal donations. Just search for Anton's Gmail on PayPal if that is a viable option for donations for you. Thank you very much. All right, let's see here. Oh, one more thing. I've noticed something, and I actually turned my notifications off on Discord, but in the last few streams on other people's channels, I've been told that there's like Discord pings. So if anyone notices any specifically Discord sounds, because I never hear them, please let me know, because then I'll know I need to adjust some of my audio settings. But yeah, yeah, if anyone hears anything throughout the stream, let me know. All right, let's see. Okay. All right, this is going to be the best way to do this. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, you're right, Dick. It is the routing page. And usually I use Stream, excuse me, so I can get audio from all sources I need. But that's why sometimes I'll switch to chat, because I have chat set up to where you're just going to hear my voice and nothing else from my system. Yeah, so yeah. Okay, this stream will be a good way to test this then. All right, and first we're going to jump into this news. Hold on.
And basically told me to brace for the deletion of all channels, because the content everywhere is the same. I decided to bypass YouTube.
Okay, so for all of you who might be familiar, there is a channel, and in fact, I should probably also show you. I'll show you the actual channel right after this. It is called Reporting from Ukraine. Many of us are familiar with Reporting from Ukraine. They do good coverage about the situation at the front lines, not only in English, but in multiple different languages. Yeah. Something that has happened very recently, where their channel, like several others throughout the last 2 years that are pro-Ukraine, they have been targeted by Russian troll accounts, by pro-Russian troll farms. And right now, their account is actually looking like it might end up being deleted on YouTube. They have several 100,000 subscribers. And what's unique about Reporting from Ukraine is this. And this is why I think this is a pretty big issue, because it's not just targeting one channel. They have something on the order of like 30 different channels, all of them in different languages. They take their content, they actually organize it and curate it so that it can be translated into Polish, Hungarian, Spanish, Italian, a bunch of German, a bunch of different languages, especially languages of citizens of countries who are very pro-Ukraine. But they also do other languages that you might not immediately think of. They've even done they've done Thai, they've done Burmese, Myanmar Karen language, they've done Vietnamese and Latvian and Lithuanian. So languages big and small, with many speakers and not very many speakers, total population wise. all across the world, across continents. And they've also got a Dutch channel, so that would cover, of course, Europe and also, by extension, probably Afrikaans speakers from South Africa would be able to watch that and understand it. So a lot of different languages across all the continents. And unfortunately, pretty much all of these have been targeted by this Russian troll farm. Let's take a look at this video right quick.
Hello everyone, this is a quick update on the fate of this channel. For those who have not seen the previous video, in short, there seems to be a massive bot attack on all reporting from Ukraine channels, which has triggered YouTube's automated system and caused a chain reaction in the deletion of all channels. Since the YouTube support team was unhelpful and basically told me to brace for the deletion of all channels because the content everywhere is the same, I decided to bypass YouTube and contact Google via their other services regarding this cyber attack. Unfortunately, after almost 24 hours, I still have not received any answer. In the meantime, YouTube continues taking down our channels. Several hours ago, our Italian channel got kicked out of the partner program and demonetized. So far, 16...
Oh, there's an echo. Wait. Like a major echo or just from the video itself? Well, it's almost done. We'll just finish out the video.
Channels have already been affected. In case YouTube deletes the channel that you're watching right now, please subscribe to my Telegram and Twitter channels. I will continue posting regular tactical updates there, as always for free. For those of you who can support us financially during this turbulent time...
Oh, there's a huge echo. Okay, yeah, because I can hear a minor echo from the video, but not a huge one. Well, I hope it was understandable, because it was only like a 1-minute update from their end. But just to summarize, yeah, they've been targeted. It sounds like from what I see in the chat that their channels have been restored, which is good. But this kind of is important to note because there is no other group, whether it's a major media organization or grassroots like this one, that I know of at least, that does translations into as many languages about the situation at the front lines and just the situation regarding the war in Ukraine in general in support of Ukraine. So for anyone who might be concerned that this happens again, if they get targeted again, I'm actually going through and trying to preserve. I mean, I'm sure they have them preserve themselves. But some of the most important things, like, for example, big example, their Lithuanian and Hungarian channels. They're very active. The people who run them are very passionate. For Hungarian especially, there's almost no other voice. There are very few pro-Ukrainian voices that I have seen so far from Hungary. They do exist, and those that do exist are very, very strongly pro-Ukraine. But, yeah. Anyway, this is a good example of attempts to silence those of us who want to speak out and support Ukraine online. And, of course, in terms of providing information, doing fundraising, etc. So please be sure to go check out Reporting from Ukraine, subscribe, and show them support. They also have, I believe, Patreon. All right. Now with that, let's move on. Yeah, I don't know where the echo came from. Hold on. Yeah, it's not from my microphone. Well, I'll get that fixed later. Now then. Let's move on to the news right quick. And we'll take down the bar for right now. And that, because it's very large and distracting. All right, here we go. So, first piece of news from Kiev Post, and I'm putting it into chat now. NATO must choose whether we indeed are allies. Zelensky. And I just want to underscore this headline right quick because I had a similar conversation, I think on the Shills. Was it the Shills? Pretty sure it was the Shills last week. About, lack of air defense, trickle of aid, just enough to survive. Is it appreciated? Yes. But is that how you actually send a message that you are someone's staunch ally who can be trusted? No. No, it is not. So let's read on. NATO must decide if it is Kiev's ally, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Friday, urging defense ministers from the bloc's member states to step up arms deliveries to his struggling forces. His appeal to Western partners to provide at least 7 more air defense systems came hours after Russia launched a wave of fatal drone and missile attacks across the country. A barrage in Ukrainian eastern Dnipropetrovsk region killed at least 9 people, including 2 children. But Ukraine said it had downed one of the long-range Russian bombers that launched the missiles for the first time. Our sky must become safe again, Zelensky told a gathering of NATO defense ministers via video link. Absolutely. We all have been saying that for a while. 100% agreed. And it's not just a statement, it is a dire fact. It depends fully on your choice, he said, telling the meeting in Brussels that their alliance faced a choice over whether we indeed are allies. Comparing Western efforts to defend Israel from Iran's recent aerial attacks to Ukraine's situation, Zelensky argued more could be done to help Kiev fend off Russian bombardments. Cannot wait. Ukraine could not defend itself without Western support, he told NATO ministers. It is obvious that now, while Russia has air advantage and can rely on its drone and rocket terror, our capabilities on the ground, unfortunately, are limited, he said. Earlier Friday, NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg said the bloc had agreed to give Ukraine more weapons, including air defenses. I expect new announcements on air defense capabilities for Ukraine soon, he added. And actually, this ties into another article we're going to cover a little bit later. Slovaks buy bullets for Ukraine in defiance of Russia-friendly prime minister. Yeah, let's also touch on this really quick. But before doing so, I do want to say this was a little short, but it is absolutely correct. And we're all aware of it. We all know it needs to happen. We all know it's politics. It's where the money lies. It's where decades old, decades long alliances and relationships, not just between countries, but between individuals of influence in those countries lie. Ukraine does have ties to the U.S., to the West in general, and it has made friendly ties, which is why, of course, support came in when the invasion did occur, in the form of military aid, weapons, although it wasn't as fast as many of us would like. But then other countries that have kind of been positioned as geopolitically vital for many years, Israel being an example, we see the difference. We see the aid coming faster. We see a hyper-focus from media. Ukraine is building up a lot more connections and alliances right now as we speak. And for those of us who care about Ukraine, who care about the future of Western democracy and what influences will affect Europe as a whole in the future, call your representatives, everybody. There are votes happening right now, very soon, for aid again in the U.S. Keep the pressure up. Now then, Oh, thank you very much. Kai Rollwagen. Hot 3 coffees. Gekauft. Small amount for the. Oh, hold on. I didn't get a chance to read that because it disappeared. But I can read it from here. Small amount for the next drones. PS. Monobank not working. Yes, yeah, I'm aware. Well, okay, so Monobank should be working for some people, but that's the problem with Monobank, just in general, and it's not really anything that I can easily do anything about. It's just the nature of foreign financial institutions not wanting to let money go through to Monobank, and I guess because it's a Ukrainian institution, or maybe there are other reasons I'm unaware of. Monobank will sometimes work, but sometimes it will not, especially if you are outside of Ukraine. If you're inside Ukraine, you have a Ukrainian bank account, or from a few other countries that do business pretty regularly with Ukraine, probably will be fine. But for a lot of us in other countries, in parts of Western Europe or Canada or the US or anywhere else, yeah, sometimes it just doesn't want to go through. And it's very annoying. But thank you very much for the 3 coffees. So that should be about 15 USD. Thank you very much. All right, let's see here. Ukraine has faced a surge in devastating. Thousands of people have already contributed 575,000 euros, or 610,000 USD, since Monday when the Peace for Ukraine group launched the initiative, organizers of a Slovak crowdfunding campaign said. Ukraine has faced a surge in devastating Russian attacks on its cities. Earlier this week, a strike on the city of Chernihiv killed 18 people. Zelensky called a vote Saturday in the U.S. House of Representatives on a long-delayed $61 billion military aid package, vitally important. The aid has been delayed since last year amid political infighting in the Republican Party, but Zelensky said Friday, "This year we can't wait for decisions to be made." He called for at least 7 more Patriots or similar air defense systems. They can save many lives and really change the situation, he added. Earlier Friday, Zelensky said he had visited Ukrainian frontline troops and inspected new defensive lines in the war-battered Donetsk region. He also said Russia had hit 2 food export terminals at the Black Sea port of Pivdeny Friday. Agricultural products destined for Asian and African countries were destroyed in them, he said. This was part of a deliberate Russian strategy to cause maximum damage to Ukraine and the countries that rely on Ukrainian agricultural goods, said Zelensky. 2 children killed. Overnight Russian missile attacks in the Dnipropetrovsk region hit housing blocks and sparked a fire in one multi-story building. In the regional capital Dnipro, rescuers trawled the damage, searching for survivors and bodies throughout the day as residents hauled their belongings out of destroyed apartments and in rucksacks and carrier bags. 2 children are among those killed, a 14-year-old girl and an 8-year-old boy. Ukraine's foreign minister Dmytro Kuleba said on social media, "Children must not be killed in airstrikes in modern Europe. We must protect them with a reliable air shield," Kuleba said. On the morning of Saturday, April 20th, the Ministry of Internal Affairs reported an increase in the number of victims in Dnipro following a massive Russian attack on April 19th. The report states, during the night, rescuers retrieved the body of a deceased man from the rubble of a high-rise building. Emergency and rescue operations in Dnipro have been completed. In total, the Russian attack resulted in the deaths of 3 individuals in the city, with 24 others sustaining injuries. Ukraine's railway operators said train facilities were hit in the attack and that 7 employees were among those wounded. A female member of staff was killed, they added. Russian shelling on the southern Mykolaiv region and the eastern Sumy region killed 2 people, local officials announced. So, yeah, guys, and this just underscores the fact that Ukraine needs air defense now. This is a country similar in size to the U.S. state of Texas, for example. Pretty sure they're not exactly the same, but pretty close to one another in total land area, and they're also both very, very flat. So Ukraine doesn't have a lot of natural defenses, like in the form of mountains or hills. And the enemy is, Russia is not slowing down on their production of missiles. Now, do sanctions help prevent them from being even stronger or more well-financed for the kind of, crap they want to do? Yes. But it doesn't choke their economy. It doesn't prevent them from being able to produce more and more cheap, you know, old-fashioned artillery and, you know, um, just basic explosives, basic missiles that can strike anywhere in Ukraine, because they aren't being precise. They aren't making smart bombs or missiles and only targeting this or that. Russia's just attacking everything, everywhere, and everyone. And so, again, call your representatives, leave a voicemail, let them know to show support for Ukraine and air defense for Ukraine, especially. All right, let's move on to the next piece of news. Also from Kiev Post. Well, I guess we actually covered this a little bit just now. But, oh no. Yeah, this is Odessa specifically. Never mind. I'm putting the link into the chat right now. Massive missile attack hits Odessa region as Russian troops target Odessa with ballistic missiles. Russian troops staged a massive missile attack on the Odessa region, targeting Odessa with ballistic missiles on Saturday, April 20th, according to a report from the Defense Forces of Southern Ukraine via Telegram. At dawn, Russian troops directed Kh-59 guided air missiles from tactical aircraft over the Odessa region. Both targets were destroyed in the waters of the Black Sea, the report said. Later, Russians launched a ballistic missile attack on Odessa from the temporarily occupied Crimea, resulting in damage to an infrastructure facility. Information about the extent of damage and victims is being clarified, reported the Defense Forces. Early on April 20th, Russian troops initiated a new combined shelling of Ukraine utilizing drones and missiles. In total, Russia launched 3 Iskander-M ballistic missiles, 2 S-300, S-400 anti-aircraft guided missiles from the Belgorod region, and 2 X-59, X-69 guided air missiles from the Black Sea area over Ukrainian territory. Ukraine's air defense successfully intercepted 2 Kh-59, Kh-69 missiles and 3 reconnaissance drones in the Krivorisky district of Dnipropetrovsk region, as well as in the Mykolaiv and Odessa regions. So, brief update, but yeah, again, they're stepping it up, and Western inaction will be seen as weakness, which is never a good thing to show to orcs. So, let's stand united against them, everybody. All right. Oh, and also as a reminder, we have the Q&A section open, so if you want to ask a question, feel free to do so there. Let's see. No questions yet, so yeah, if you have any, feel free to put some over in that area in the chat, everybody. All right. Next. Actually, we're going to do this one from the BBC next because it ties into what was discussed earlier with the Slovak aid to Ukraine. Yeah, Cheryl. Monobank has worked for me in the past, but then it stopped. And so I legitimately think Monobank is just on a list for some banks of, if you notice transactions going through to this, then scrutinize them or don't let them go through. And it annoys me greatly. Because now, yeah, I got to find alternatives for making the donations directly. And of course, not everyone is going to be opening a bank account in Ukraine. So, yeah, it sucks. But hopefully it can be cleared up. All right. Yep, so this is actually even more updated than the last one, because they did get more donations. A crowdfunding campaign in Slovakia to buy artillery shells for Ukraine has exceeded its target of 1 million euros, or 850,000 British pounds, less than 48 hours after it was launched. That's amazing, everybody. And very much needed. And also, it's okay. This is a strong statement of support for Ukraine from a place that people are watching and people are worried about. Does everybody remember back before the most recent election in Poland when the so-called law and order, law and, oh, shoot. Is it law and justice? In English, it is, hold on a sec. Hold on. I have to double check this. Is it PIS? Yes. Law and Justice Party. Yes. Excuse me. My brain was stuck on a decades-old TV show there for a sec. Remember when the PIS, the Law and Justice Party, was in charge and people were very concerned about the direction that Poland was going, with kind of, potential for Christian nationalism, heavy conservatism, even some pro-Russian sentiment floating here and there. And of course, I always talk about it, Hungary, and just the shit show that is the Hungarian political system, which is a de facto one-party state and basically a puppet government of Russia, and to a certain extent Turkey as well at this point. Yeah. There's been a lot of fear of that in Slovakia because of the recent election results. Yeah. And it sends a message to the local domestic government. It is symbolic. It is symbolic for Europe and outsiders in Slovakia to see. But it also sends a message to the government in Slovakia itself that there are a lot of Slovakians who care about this. In 2 days, they raised over 1 million euros. That's pretty damn good. That's a lot. I wish that we could. I wish that Tridents Against Tyrants could raise that kind of money for soldiers in just a day or two. Yeah, that's very impressive. Actually, I should try to see. I hope it says what platform they used, because I might want to investigate that for an actual GoFundMe-like campaign. Anyway, let's read on. The campaign is a response to the Slovak cabinet's refusal to join an initiative by the Czech government to buy up hundreds of thousands of shells for the Ukrainian armed forces. We have to drive Putin out of Ukraine. We have to defeat him, said Otto Simko, a Holocaust survivor and veteran of the 1944 Slovak national uprising against the Nazis. Aged 99, he helped kickstart the campaign to challenge the government's policy. I lived through the Second World War. I fought in it. I can tell you there was no point negotiating with Hitler, and there is no point negotiating with Putin, Simko told the BBC from Bratislava. It was a random conversation the Slovak veteran had with a journalist and a philosopher that led to the idea of crowdfunding Slovak help for Kiev. And I guess here's his picture of the veteran in question, Mr. Otto Simko. Good man. Good man. Otto Simko, who's 99, has dipped into his pension to pay into the fund. In essence, it allows Slovaks to bypass the populist nationalist government of Robert Fico, who came to power in October pledging not to send, quote, one more round of ammunition to Ukraine. And yeah, you can see why everyone across the EU and NATO is concerned about this. For months, Ukrainian forces have struggled to defend their front lines from the Russian advance because of a shortage of shells, rockets, and air defenses. But Mr. Fico has flatly refused to join about 20 countries that have signed up to the Czech operation to procure large quantities of artillery ammunition on the global arms market. And guys, let me tell you this. It is not just Slovakia. It is not just Poland. It is not just Hungary, which is pretty solidly infiltrated at this point. Even a few other places like Bulgaria, for example. Bulgaria has prevented it from happening, but there is pro-Russian sentiment among some there. There's an attempt to push for opposition groups that are more sympathetic to Moscow to gain power over there. So this is a continuing and constant Cold War, political war, war for influence, war for divisions within democratic institutions and constituent nations, constituent states. It's not just happening in the U.S. and Canada. It's happening everywhere. It's happening in Europe as well. The Slovak Prime Minister says the West's policy of arming Ukraine is only prolonging the conflict, and Kiev should instead lay down its arms and sue for peace with Moscow. The crowdfunding campaign has provided an outlet for those Slovaks who do not agree with him. Thank you to all Slovaks who do not agree with him and have helped this campaign. By Friday afternoon, more than 32,000 people had donated more than 2 million euros since it launched on Tuesday afternoon. Wow. The money will go directly to the Czech government's initiative. We're really pleasantly surprised at the huge force it's awoken, said Zuzana Isakova from the Peace to Ukraine initiative, which is running the effort in conjunction with the Czech-based Endowment Fund for Ukraine. It's a sign of the resistance of Slovak society against the government and the foreign policy of Robert Fico, she told the BBC. The campaign, running under the slogan, "If the government won't, we will," would continue even now that it had met its target, she said. So far, Mr. Fico has not commented publicly on the campaign. However, Defense Minister Robert Kalinak told the Markiza TV station that Slovakia was a democracy and people were free to do what they wanted. His government was working instead on providing Kiev with assistance such as demining equipment, he said. Oh, I guess this image is from Reuters. Robert Fico has halted Slovak military aid to Ukraine, but insists he wants to be a, quote, good, friendly neighbor to Ukraine. The Czech ammunition initiative sees Prague acting as a middleman, combining extensive defense contacts dating back to the Cold War with money from EU and NATO partners to procure ammunition for Ukraine's shell-starved artillery batteries. The scheme has been lauded by allies, including President Joe Biden, at a time when Ukraine military aid has been mired for months in congressional bickering, and the EU's own ammunition pledges have fallen far short. Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala said on a visit to Washington this week, his country had so far signed contracts for 180,000 rounds and was securing the purchase of 300,000 more, following substantial pledges of money from Germany, the Netherlands, Denmark, and others. The first shells would arrive in June, said Mr. Fiala. However, the project is shrouded in strategic ambiguity, and other Czech officials have suggested tens of thousands have already arrived on the battlefield. It is also unclear which countries are providing the shells, with unconfirmed claims that some of them enjoy friendly relations with Moscow. If I had to guess, sadly, that is a phrase that could be interpreted a couple of different ways. I know that Serbia is not going to be sending anything. There might be some individual Serbians who want to contribute, but not the Serbian government. I imagine Bulgaria is probably involved, and Bulgaria does have a split of pro-EU versus anti-EU or pro-Russian groups in their government. But yeah, it's good. It's good that there's strategic ambiguity in this particular case. But we need actual confirmation that these shells are arriving, because Ukrainians need them. The Czech government says up to 1.5 million rounds could be available on the global market if the funds can be secured. Otto Simko said he had not hesitated to dip into his pension to help fund what he said was Ukraine's battle against totalitarianism. Remember Neville Chamberlain, Neville Chamberlain. His idea that offering Hitler the Sudetenland would bring peace. It turned out to be a complete illusion, he told the BBC. Our government is doing exactly the same. Give him the Donbass, just as long as there is peace. Give him Crimea, just as long as there is peace. It's a complete illusion, he went on. If we don't defeat Putin, he will be a threat. Not for the 2 or 3 years that I have left on this earth, but to my grandchildren and great-grandchildren, to Slovakia and the whole world. And so, yeah, 100% agree with this man. Much respect to him. Much respect to him for his service. As mentioned earlier, I believe that he was a veteran. And I'm very glad to see this. Now, obviously, 1 million euros is not enough because this is a very large, this is a huge war between industrial nations. We need billions and billions worth of artillery shells and anti-air defense systems and other equipment for Ukraine. But this is very good news. And not only does it help Ukrainian armed forces, but it helps to keep support for them internationally very strong in key strategic regions. All right. Now then, we're going to move into another thing right quick, another article, but first... All right, hold on. Let me do this real fast so I can put it into reader mode, the next article. Because this article mentioned Hungary, I do believe, or perhaps it was the last article, I want to cover this one next from AP News. And I'm putting it in the chat now. And for anyone who wants more of an underscoring of how much I don't like Viktor Orbán of Hungary, for multiple reasons, not just the Ukraine war, the matter of the Ukraine war, this should help illustrate the point a bit more. Hungary's Orbán launches EU election campaign with pledge to, quote, occupy Brussels. From Budapest, Hungary, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán on Friday painted a grim picture of a continent teetering on the edge of armed conflict in a speech opening his party's campaign for European Union elections. He called for a changing of the guard among the bloc's leaders. As Orbán addressed members of his Fidesz party at the closed-door event in Hungary's capital, Budapest, he lashed out at the EU. He characterized it as an oppressive force that has made its member countries active participants in the war in Ukraine. Quote, they see the war as their own war, and they fight it as if it's their own war, Orbán said of EU leaders. No EU country has engaged its soldiers in the war in Ukraine. The leadership in Brussels has to go, Orbán said. It does not deserve another chance. There must be changes in Brussels. The long-serving Orbán goes into June's EU elections facing significant challenges at home and abroad, including the recent resignations of senior Hungarian officials and a battered economy struggling under the weight of billions in funding that the EU has withheld from Hungary over rule of law and corruption concerns, both of which are quite valid in my opinion. His party's campaign event Friday was uncharacteristically short, lasting only around 45 minutes. At a venue in central Budapest, which independent media were not permitted to attend. Orbán's speech, which lasted around 15 minutes, relied heavily on themes he has campaigned on for years. A rejection of immigration, hostility to LGBTQ+ rights, and claims that the EU has sought to impose its will on Hungary. We must occupy Brussels, push aside the Brussels bureaucrats, and take matters into our own hands, he said to Applause, a right-wing nationalist who has ruled Hungary for 14 years. Orbán has been critical of governments that supply Ukraine with money and weapons to assist it in fending off Russia's full-scale invasion. Hungary has refused to provide such assistance and has argued against passing EU sanctions on Russia for its aggression in Ukraine. Orbán has long charged countries that support Ukraine as being pro-war and sought to portray his government as the only one in the EU that favors peace, yet many of his critics have accused him of serving Russian interests by extending energy deals with Moscow and holding up aid packages to Kyiv. Yeah, exactly that. Again, Viktor Orbán is a puppet of Vladimir Putin. And to an extent also Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Turkey. But that's a story for another day. In closing his speech, Orbán unveiled his party's election manifesto, which envisions a resurgence of right-wing forces in the 27-member bloc. If the EU's current leadership remains, the manifesto reads, Europe will be plunged into war, migration waves will destroy European nations, and gender propaganda will ruin the future of our children. I really don't like that, man. EU elections are set to take place on June 6th through the 9th. I agree. Germany should move its factories out of Hungary. Honestly, there are changes happening in Hungary, everybody. People are actually getting engaged over there right now. I have a list, honestly, of individuals and organizations that are not just pro-Ukraine, but also anti-Orban, pro-human rights, pro-LGBT plus rights. Of course, I think I already said pro-Ukraine groups that actively help Ukrainian armed forces and humanitarian aid. So there are good people in Hungary who are trying to work against this. The best way I can put it for anyone who's an American viewer, for example, it's like being a really dedicated grassroots liberal in a deep red area. You can be working really hard, you can be doing a whole lot, but you're probably not going to get a lot of media coverage, and you're probably going to be not just outnumbered, but outspent by the other side 10-1. And yeah, that's why I try to do a lot in support of those different groups in Hungary that are pro-Ukraine. Anyway, moving on to the next article. From Kyiv Post. Ukrainian Special Ops report strike on Russian ammunition depot, eliminating 3 soldiers. The Special Operations Forces, SSO, reported on Telegram that destruction... Oh. All right, we're going to finish this, but then I want to jump back to one thing I forgot about Hungary. All right. In this... the destruction of a Russian field warehouse of ammunition and the elimination of 3 Russian soldiers in the southern direction. According to the report, operators from the 73rd Marine Center of the SSO discovered a Russian field warehouse containing ammunition, provisions, and automotive equipment during reconnaissance operations. Additionally, they identified caponairs. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Fortification structures designed to provide flanking or oblique fire in 2 opposite directions. Interesting. The operators inflicted the damage on the targets using first-person view FPV drones and a 122mm D-30 howitzer. The SSO's report indicates that Russian positions were also attacked during the night, destroying ammunition warehouses. As a result of the attack, Ukrainian Special Ops eliminated 3 and wounded 5 Russian soldiers. Video footage depicted Russian positions, military personnel, and vehicles, followed by a series of explosions captured by Ukrainian drones during both day and night operations. The Kyiv Post was unable to independently verify the time and location of the video. This mission adds to a series of recent successes by the SSO utilizing FPV drones. Earlier, Ukrainian Special Ops reported a successful strike on a Russian T-90 tank using FPV drones. The T-90 is among Russia's most modern main battle tanks, valued on the export market between $2.5 to $4.3 million, depending on the level of modernization. And then it jumps into what we read earlier. So I guess several of the articles are linked together. All right. So a bit of good news there from Ukrainian Special Forces from the SSO. Yeah, very good to hear. We want to, and, just all the best to the brave soldiers who are making it a reality. It is not easy work. It is not easy work, I'm sure. All right. Let's see here. Oh, yes. Let me go back. So regarding Hungary, one last thing I wanted to underscore right quick. Let's see. Oh, how can I easily find this? One sec. Haha. All right, I got lucky and it popped up almost immediately. All right. Here we go. Oh, nope. That's not correct. Here we go. All right. So this, yeah, it's not perfect, but hold on. It's just the size of the window. Let me fix that. Yeah, okay, not perfect, but that'll work. There. All right. So this is a channel that I'm most concerned about. Actually, I'm concerned about all of them. And it sounds like everything is good now, but who knows? It could happen again. If you're not subscribed, I don't even speak Hungarian fluently, everybody. But I recognize an important news source when I see one. And this is the only one I know of that is doing detailed news in support of Ukraine for people of the nation of Hungary in their native language. So if you would like to check out this channel, I'm putting it into the chat right now. This is RFU Hungarian. If you know anyone who's Hungarian, please share it with them. If you know anyone who is, you know, oh, hold on, my battery's about to die. 1 sec. Oh, that was a rush. Definitely don't want my battery to die in the middle of a stream. Anyway, so yeah, if you know someone, whether they're pro-Ukraine or maybe they're against Ukraine, whatever the case might be, and they're Hungarian, they speak Hungarian, please share this with them. Damn, I had the actual YouTube studio open there for a sec. There. Please share this with them. Copy. Oh, that's funny. Anyway. Yeah. Aside from this, there's also one other resource that I would recommend that's a little easier to find. This one is Jelentesek Ukrajnából. But also, if you want something easy to remember, even if you don't speak Hungarian, look for 444.hu. This is one of the few good news sources I know of from Hungary that tends to be pretty pro-Ukraine, mostly anti-Orban. It's mostly domestic Hungarian issues, but they are one of the few opposition media that have not been crushed, along with a few others, and I will put them in the chat as well. You may find them a bit informative, but like many Hungarian media, they do not typically put subtitles on all their videos, but still worth checking out. All right, now moving on back to news about Ukraine. All right, let's see here. Let's go to Militarny right quick. Ooh, here's some important news to cover. Hey, Emertzi. Thank you for being here. No, seriously, everybody who's watching, thank you to all of you because I just put up information and, try to keep eyes on Ukraine online. I know people who come into chats. I've seen and I've talked to people in chats who are actively serving in the armed forces, people who are giving a lot of money from retirement and pensions to assist with the war effort. And even if you're not doing any of that, if you're here and you care, you're staying informed, you're supporting Ukraine in whatever way you can, to each and every one of you, thank you immensely because it does make a difference and it is important. All right, now then. 203. So this is from Militarny. I'm putting the link into chat. And this is rather unset. Hold on. Now it's not loading properly. Okay, hold on. Let me fix this because it was just up a second ago. There we go. All right. This is rather unsettling, but also not surprising because corruption and infiltration by pro-Russians, both domestic and foreign. 203 millimeter shells of American production were spotted with Russians. From sources Telegram channel Ukrainian Informator. Speaking of Telegram, reporting from Ukraine, I believe, is also on there as a backup channel. Go check them out in case anything ever happens to any of their YouTube channels. The Russian gunners were spotted with 203 millimeter artillery shells of American production. This was reported by the Telegram channel Ukrainian Informant. The photo shows the ammunition and marked propellant charge 203-2S7. Obviously, the projectile is designed to be fired with a 2S7 Pion self-propelled gun. The number 203 indicates that the shell received the name Izdelie 203. Ammunition with this name was found in the Russian range tables, which were written in 2023. Here's some images. Polozariad. Propellant charges, source from Ukrainian informator. Marking on propellant charges in a range table may indicate that Russians received a large enough batch of these ammunition and did not seize them from the Ukrainian military. Also, Russians could repack propellant charges and leave the container. It can be assumed that Russia received these ammunition from Iranian arsenals. The country is known to operate American M110 203mm self-propelled guns. Ah, yeah, that would make sense. And there is an image of Ayatollah Khomeini the supreme leader and dictator of Iran, with an Iranian M110 self-propelled gun. Yeah. In addition to Iran, M110 operates in Bahrain, Cyprus, Greece, Egypt, Jordan, Morocco, Pakistan, Taiwan, and Turkey. So it is indeed an international round. There is a market for it. Iranian shells in the Russian arsenal. Recently, Militarny reported that Iran had supplied the Russian military with a batch of 120mm mortar rounds, which had been manufactured in 2023. Yep. Oh, shoot. Guys, is my... shoot, hold on a second. Is there a lag? Because I just realized I should have a cabled connection. Hold on one sec. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's very annoying. And that's what happens when you have to move your stuff from one room to another for multiple projects. All right, let's see. Okay, and here we go. If the connection is a little bit better, then let me know. Hey, Kathleen. Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping in. All right. Mortar rounds are placed... recently, Militarny reported that Iran had supplied the Russian military with a batch of 120mm mortar rounds, which had been manufactured in 2023. Mortar rounds are placed immediately with propellant charges in a plastic tube. Additional propellant charges are used to increase the maximum range of such rounds. 120mm mortar rounds from the People's Republic of China and Iran of the Russian military. Okay, so yeah, they've got a couple examples from both China and Iran being used by the Russians. In 2023, it became known that Iran had sold just over $1 million worth of ammunition to Russia for the war against Ukraine. Iran and Russia signed a contract for ammunition back in September of 2022. According to the released contract, Iran sold various types of missiles and ammunition. An appendix to the contract state that Iran transferred 125mm barrels for T-72 tanks, barrels for D-30, 120mm howitzer tank artillery ammunition. As previously reported, Russians also use Iranian 122mm high-explosive shells of the Arash family for BM-21 Grad multiple rocket launchers. So, yeah, this is just underscoring the fact that sanctions help. Sanctions do help. They do make a difference, guys. Sanctions are one small part of the puzzle. There's no way to... You look, if you're someone who actually, you know, for good and for bad, capitalism exists. There's always a market. There's always a clean market, a gray market, and a black market. And the bottom line is, between the gray market and the black market, the Russians can get what they need to continue this war. Now, sanctions help keep them from getting even more of what they're wanting to use for their war crimes in Ukraine. But there's no way to, I mean, short of invading and literally occupying any and all means of export by these other countries that are giving things to Russia, which of course is completely unrealistic, there's no way to stop it. So what we need to do is give Ukraine a hell of a lot more and, yeah, continue to highlight and work against all of these regimes. I don't just do stuff to help Ukraine, guys. I also do stuff to, against Russia, against Iran, in support of Taiwan, against the People's Republic of China. So yeah, get out there, learn a bit more, get involved in more. There's a lot of stuff going on all around the world, and it is all interconnected. All right, let's see here. Next. Here we go. All right, here's some good news. And putting the article in chat for all of you. This month, the Ukrainian defense industry, and this is another reason why it is extremely important to get the air defense, everybody. Tell anybody who is saying it's too expensive, why can't Ukrainians pay for things themselves or make their own weapons or whatever the case might be. They need air defense to make sure that what they're making doesn't get blown up. So that's another huge reason why air defense systems, as well as artillery to defend their positions, is so important. This month, the Ukrainian defense industry is to produce 10 Bodana self-propelled howitzers, with more to come. This month, the Ukrainian defense industry is producing 10 Bodana self-propelled howitzers for the first time, with more to come in May and beyond. President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, announced this. The share of our own production is constantly growing. The state enters into serious long-term contracts with our enterprises, which provide predictability, the ability to recruit people, and attract investment. This month, our industry will produce 10 Bogdana howitzers for the first time, and in May and beyond, even more, the president shared. At the beginning of April, Militarny reported that the Ukrainian arms industry is building 8 Bogdana self-propelled howitzers each month. Here we go. And here are some Bodana self-propelled howitzers on a 4-axle chassis. Credits to Telegram Military Journal. Former Ukrainian Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov first publicly reported the start of mass production of Ukrainian self-propelled howitzers in January of 2023. He stated that Ukraine has financed the serial production of the domestic Bodana 155mm self-propelled howitzers. According to the minister, the work started in the spring of 2022. Some critical parts are produced at their own sites abroad. In December 2023, it was announced that about 30 S-22 Bodana self-propelled howitzers had already been assembled for the armed forces of Ukraine. Beautiful, beautiful sight. Bodana self-propelled guns with anti-drone screens. Militarny reported on March 30th that the Ukrainian Bodana self-propelled guns received special protective screens made of metal mesh for protection against drones. Mounted screens made of metal mesh are designed to protect the wheel self-propelled guns primarily from enemy strike drones, which are constantly hunting for Ukrainian artillery. According to the photo, the structures cover important units of the Bodana self-propelled guns, such as the front and upper part of the cabin, where the driver and howitzer crew are located, the hood above the engine, and the places where the 155mm shells and propellant charges are stored. The main function of these screens is to protect against light impact FPV drones or reduce the effectiveness of Russian loitering munitions like the Lancet. All right. So this is really good news. This is fantastic to hear. Well, drones carry explosive charges, so of course, you want to get them. You want to knock them out with other means before they even get close to you. But it is good at least to have something where, if it comes and tries to hit your vehicle, you can kind of bounce it off a bit. Have that metal mesh, prevent them from actually landing or sticking anything. I'm sure there's a lot of different innovative ways that on both sides that drones are being used. So it's actually fascinating to see the evolution of how these different armored vehicles, different anti-drone preparatory measures, different anti-drone measures are being implemented and experimented with. So yeah, this is a war of, I haven't heard about a lot of, I guess, both invention and innovation, because there are a few new technologies being used, but it's really a lot of older technologies that have just evolved now to the point where middle income states are able to afford it. Like you can have teams of people who don't need to have multi-million or billion-dollar government contracts to play around with, extremely rare and difficult to obtain hardware and software. That does still exist in this war, but there's also still a lot of stuff that's you can count it in the hundreds or the thousands of dollars that's being spent on certain pieces of equipment, and at times being grassroots funded, like what we do. All right, let me check something. Yeah, still waiting to hear back from Anton. As soon as I've got an update, you guys will hear regarding that. Once we've got that on the progress bar. Let's see. Next. We've got a lot of pieces of news. I probably have about 40 more minutes left. So let's do this right quick. Let's take a look at the deep state map, because we have not done that for a second. And I know a lot of it is because, Ukraine needs weapons, there have been good pieces of news. There's been pushing the enemy back, but also the enemy doesn't have their hands tied the way Ukraine does right now. From, lack of sufficient domestic production or support from allies abroad. Ukraine needs more so they can actually, we can have good news when we look at the deep state map. But regardless, we still got to take a look at the map. So let me pull it up. Yep. Where did you disappear to? There we go. All right. Now then, let's take a look around the deep state map. Also, actually, first, before we do that, let's see questions. Are there any so far? Nope. I guess there aren't that many questions today. Let me double check the Discord. Oh, well, you know what? We've got a couple of questions from a while back that actually, from previous streams that were missed. So yeah, you know what? I don't know if you guys are here right now, but we'll answer these real fast and then jump into the map. From MDAO back on April 7th. Why can the Royal Navy send a ship to Gaza with aid, but can't send a ship to Ukraine? Because there are, I mean, there should be more investment in what's going on in Ukraine. There should be more being done, but you have people of influence who, on both sides, who have more emotional and financial investment in Israel and in Palestine. Not really in Palestine, but in groups that do have money and resources that are linked to Palestine, or rather, specifically different groups in Palestine, both Gaza and the West Bank. And same thing with Israel. So that's why you see more media attention. That's why you see countries sending more to, whether it be to Israel in terms of weapons, or Palestine in general in terms of emergency aid or anything else. And yeah, Israel Palestine is something that's been going on for a long time and has been in the news cycle for many, many years. Ukraine has been more heavily. Ukraine has too, since 2014, since Crimea happened. But yeah, it's just a series of different geopolitical reasons. But thank you for a good question. Let's see. From April 13th, Freedom Energy. Do you think Russia is going to attack the grid so they can use PoE to gain intel on Ukraine? I'm assuming that they mean the electrical grid. If by PoE you mean projected operational environment, I mean, I think that they're going to try to knock everything out in terms of communications and the electrical grid to the best of their ability, to sow a bit of discord and chaos in Ukraine. And yeah, I mean, Russia does have agents on the ground inside of Ukraine. Ukraine has agents on the ground inside of Russia. That's why we keep hearing about oil depots going up in flames and drone strikes inside of Russia and other events like that. Both sides are very active in espionage, and both sides are very good at espionage. Let me underscore that. Let me emphasize that. These are two countries that know what they know what they're doing when it comes to infiltrating the other side. And so that's one part of this war. Obviously, it's not the only part, but it is big. And Ukraine is in a place of vulnerability, in the sense that it doesn't have enough resources to defend its infrastructure, and desperately needs to get them from allies. Russia is in the position where they've got a lot of stuff, including resources and stuff, back in Russia that, I mean, they can, for lack of a better word, they can afford to lose from strikes and stuff, but it still hurts them a lot. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Russians were planning something like that specifically, but I don't think that they really necessarily need to. I think they're already gaining a lot of intel on the ground. Both sides are. I don't think knocking out the grid specifically would help with that. If anything, having social media specifically up and available inside of Ukraine probably helps to sow discord more than knocking everything out for long periods of time. Oh, and thank you for a great question. Here's another one. From Cheryl Watley. Are you worried about the RNC chair including Ukraine on its list of aggressive enemies? Will they try to criminalize giving to Ukraine? I mean, they could try. They won't succeed in, under U.S. law, criminalizing giving aid to Ukraine. And even if they do, individuals will still do it anyway, because let's be honest, that would give the other side something huge to put into the media cycle that would outrage Americans. Let's be honest here. Let's say somehow MAGA Republicans in the U.S. make it like, oh, it's now illegal for an individual to support Ukraine or, you know, Ukrainian armed forces or even humanitarian aid, whatever the case might be. They wouldn't be able to pass that, but maybe to, the armed forces and others who are actively fighting. You know, there's so much support for Ukraine in the U.S. That would become something that would be a very big negative election point for them. That's why here recently, even though he's two-faced and you can't trust anything he says, Donald Trump was saying, oh, but I would be willing to do something to try to help Ukraine, even though that something would literally just be him trying to do the same thing he originally said he would a long time ago, which is basically push for Ukraine to give up territory that Russia stole. They want to word it a certain way. Even though they're anti-Ukraine, anti-Ukrainians in the U.S., a lot of them tend to speak with ambiguity. Even Donald Trump at this point. Now that's changed over time. It kind of fluctuates, but my point is that I think it's just something to appeal to their base, and also to appeal to certain foreign donors of the RNC, possibly. And you may know who I'm talking about without being specific. Yeah. I don't think that'll happen. But even if it did, it would blow up in their face. Thank you for a great question. Next one, from back on April 13th, by Susie Q. Why are the stolen children never mentioned? Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of things that don't get mentioned. Just Ukraine. Ukraine as a war, as a situation, doesn't get mentioned a lot in the media. I think it's a big part of it is because people don't want to think about it. Part of it is just in general because Ukraine hasn't been getting the media coverage that it deserves because of other things going on in the world, and people just kind of having their own bubbles, and it can be hard to break through those bubbles and create a larger focus on other matters. And I think for some, it might even be a feeling of forlorn, not hopelessness, but pessimism. Because we can talk about it all we want, but at the end of the day, let's be honest, Russia's not going to willingly and legally give those children back. And you can't invade and take over and occupy Russia, as much as many people may actually agree with that idea. It's just not a realistic thing that'll happen. So when it comes to the children, it should be talked about more. It definitely should. There should be plenty of public outrage, and we need to bring it up more often. But I think that at the government level, there's an understanding that either those kids are going to be brought back in a covert manner, or there's just a good chance they're not going to make it back, and they're going to grow up and they won't be kids anymore. They will grow into adulthood under occupation by a terrorist state, which I think a lot of people don't like to think about. But you're absolutely right. We need to discuss it more, and it needs to be something that is constantly talked about in public forums on the global stage. All right, let's see here. And that should be all of our questions for right now. Let's go ahead and move on to the deep state map again. All right. Oh, and as a reminder, I guess you can't really see it all that well right this second. Hold on. There we go. That's better. As a reminder, it's kind of covered up by my stuff. But, you know what? Let's do this. There. Support Deep State Map on Buy Me a Coffee. You can find that by going to their website, which is deepstatemap.live. All right. And let's turn the ticker off too. All right. So, there we go. Map is looking from this depth pretty similar. Oh, I see another question. Let me ask it right quick before it disappears because it's in the regular chat section. From Freedom Energy, do you think if patriots in Poland were tasked with taking out missiles to protect civilians and ships of aid... Hold on. Do you think if patriots in Poland were tasked with taking out missiles to protect civilians and ships of aid that are sent from UK to Ukraine? Do I think if that were done... I don't know if that question was fully formed. I'm guessing this is if that were to happen, would it be helpful, or if that's something that is likely to happen? I think that Poland is a very important country in all this. A lot of stuff can happen in Poland. A lot of stuff could be done. More could be done to assist in protecting civilians and ships and assisting Ukraine more heavily. But also, if you guys remember the certain conservative elements, and it's not just a liberal conservative thing. Let me just say that. Let's just say certain pro-Russian or xenophobic, isolationist, isolationist elements inside of Polish society, both in opposition groups and just, groups in general of civilians in Poland, tend to cause issues. If you remember the issue with Polish farmers being extremely upset about Ukrainian grain and the protests that were blocking supplies going to Ukraine, you've got groups like that, and you've got groups that not only will protest and, stir things up in the domestic Polish political structure in an attempt to, overthrow the new government that is more pro-Ukraine in the next election cycle. I mean, you also have those on the ground who could find ways to sabotage stuff like that. There's legitimate opportunity for sabotage and other covert activity, not just in Ukraine or Russia, but all across Europe. I think that the current Polish government wants to help, but also is aware of the fact, just like a lot of countries, that they have their own domestic political agenda, and they just took power. I think that they are being a little more hesitant now because of a concern that they're going to hand certain, perspectives or angles to the other side that could lead to law and justice taking over again, and possibly even passing laws that, kind of like what Republicans are trying to do in the U.S. or Hungary, Fidesz parties actually successfully did in Hungary, and took over as a one-party state, basically. A faux democracy where other sides are allowed, but the odds are so stacked against them they can't win. But that shouldn't be an excuse, because being pro-Ukraine is something that needs to be across the board in Europe. It's a unifying topic. I think that that could be done, and it should be done. Thank you for a great question. Oh, I see some conversation here. Oh, Victoria Sparks right now on the House floor to gut the bill. Ooh, is that breaking news right now? Because I did have some stuff about Mike Johnson and all that I was going to run over to. Hold up. Now I need to look into this. One sec. Oh, Victoria Sparks from the Wall Street Journal. Skeptical. Hmm. Yeah, that definitely doesn't look good. Ukraine needs aid, guys. And I know there's fear that one round of aid will get passed and it'll last for a while, but then we'll be right back to, needing more to be sent in like, I don't know, 6 months or a year or something, and it'll be hard to get. Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Oh, and there's an echo. Okay, there's an echo. But randomly, OBS stopped working with my main mic. So I'm on my backup mic. One sec, everybody. Okay. How's that? Can you guys hear me? Testing. Okay. There's still an echo? Okay. Good sound now? Okay, good. I don't know what just happened. Randomly, I don't think I bumped anything. Just randomly, all of a sudden, OBS stopped working with my mic. And I had to move things around a little to get that working. Anyway, okay, I'm glad you guys can hear me now. Okay, sorry about that. Technical difficulties, everybody. Where was I? Oh yeah, Ukraine aid bill. Anyway, that's going on, I'm pretty sure today. Let's see here. There's a live update on the key foreign aid package, and this is very important. And it just dropped 9 minutes ago. So you know what? We're going to take a second look at this, and then we're going to move back to the deep state map. Because we got a few more minutes left. Actually, nah, we'll come back to that in one sec. We're gonna look at the deep state map first, just because we already have it opened, and then we're gonna move over and take a look at this right quick, because it's breaking news. Yeah, okay, they're debating right now. Yeah. All right. Here we go. So this is as of April 19th. So we're just going to take a quick look and see what the situation looks like, guys. Thankfully, there hasn't been any huge enemy breakthrough or anything, but let's look at a few key regions where there are still pushes and there's pressure from the enemy. Robotne, for example. Let's see, what did it look like? Let's see what it looked like on the 12th. Okay, I guess I have to do it one day at a time. There we go. Okay, actually relatively stable. A little bit of lost territory, but nothing huge. Robotne, though, it is... Yeah, there needs to be more pushback, and it's difficult. It's a really... yeah, just like other settlements and towns and small cities, it's been hard to hold stuff right now, guys. Ukrainians are in defensive mode now. They are digging lots of defenses because it's become clear that swift victory would not be possible because of political dysfunction in the West. So they are wise to do that, to hold out. Let's take a look over here. Okay. Oh, I see everybody's wanting to talk the okay. We'll just do this real fast then, and then we're going to go take a look at the politics, everybody. Because, yeah, I mean, the map more or less has been the same in a lot of places. Pretty sure everything should be more or less the same up here in the Luhansk direction. Lysychansk, Orlivka, Bakhmut. Oh, come on. In the Bakhmut direction, yeah, we can see that the enemy is continuing to move and actually slowly attempt to take back all of the land in this particular area near Bakhmut that was at one point liberated by the Ukrainian armed forces, which is not good, of course, for morale, and it's not good symbolically either. We will see changes on this map when major aid, especially from the U.S., makes its way to Ukraine. But yeah, it is not an exaggeration, guys, to say that Ukraine needs aid from the U.S. and other key allies to win this war. It is fact. Could there be another war? Could there be another war later on that Ukraine fights and gets back their land? Yeah, but we don't want that. We want Ukraine to win this war. We don't want this to be something that gets dragged. In one way or another, this is still probably going to be something that inevitably gets dragged out for decades, regardless of the outcome of this war. But we don't want this to be something that gets dragged out for decades, resulting in additional wars, and Ukraine having to physically fight against the enemy for multiple generations. Yeah, with this much land, this much land stolen from them. Okay, it doesn't have to be that way. Russia can be defeated. Russia can be pushed back. And we got to get that damn aid to Ukraine. Now, with that, let's go ahead and jump over and take a look at the situation in Washington, D.C. Yep. Yeah, I had the background off. We'll come back to it in 1 sec. All right, and I'm putting the link into the chat right now. Now, House Democrats won't say whether they would help save Johnson. Live updates on the House vote for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan aid. From CNN's Manu Raju and Allison Main, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries continued to dodge on whether House Democrats would be willing to help save Speaker Mike Johnson from a potential ouster led by members of his own party. Remember, there's a discharge petition, but also there's real pressure from both sides. And Mike Johnson, his party seems very likely, it's not a bluff, to attempt to remove him if he introduces a vote on aid being sent to Ukraine specifically. So now House Democrats have to figure out what they're going to do, if they're going to try to find a way to guarantee to help save Mike Johnson, or is it going to be strategic ambiguity and just, what happens, basically. Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot of discussions and deals going on in Washington, D.C. right now. Attempts to negotiate something. We're working right now to get the national security legislation over the finish line. Once that's completed, we'll take up any other matters, the New York Democrat said when asked by CNN's Manu Raju whether it would be worth saving Johnson due to his actions to advance foreign aid bills despite pushback from right-wing Republicans. Asked for his message to his caucus ahead of Saturday's votes on foreign aid, Jeffries said, "Let's get this done for the good of the American people." Democratic Representative Dan Goldman also would not say Saturday whether he would be willing to offer a vote to save Johnson. We'll have to see if they actually do it. Again, it would cause more chaos and disorder in this institution, he told reporters. We saw in October that there is no easy fix, and that's because the problem is not the speaker, the problem is the party. And guys, let me say this. As much as we're focused on Ukraine aid, remember, when it comes to Speaker Mike Johnson in the United States House of Representatives, it's not just the topic of the Ukraine war that people look at. It is overall his domestic and foreign policy stances and his actions. The man is not the man is not someone who is very secular. He's someone with ties to various different religious groups that people do have problems with, are not very fond of among various circles in Washington, D.C. He is someone who was just kind of in the background before, but now he's in the spotlight. People have been scrutinizing and learning more about him as an individual. At the end of the day, I don't see an assurance easily being made for Johnson to be, quote, saved by Democrats if he introduces it. Bottom line is, you'd have to broker a deal. And most people want him to introduce aid, even if that's at the cost of his job, or even, two birds with one stone. Because a lot of people don't like Johnson and would prefer for him to be out of the role of speaker after aid to Ukraine has been presented. And so that's the thing. If you can't broker a deal, and this individual knows, I'm going to lose my job, and I've got no friends in my party or the other party, what incentive does he have to actually introduce it? We can say, yeah, for the good of America, but if he doesn't care about that, then yeah, what are we going to do? So politics, making deals and negotiations with people you don't want to, it sucks. He thinks he's Moses. Yeah. Pass aid and then we can talk. Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, I guess that, that does put something out there. Because now it's like, get the aid passed, and then we'll talk about, helping you out. But at the same time, with his party, it's like, don't pass the aid, and we're not going to try to oust you. But if you do, then we're going to try to oust you. So there's just a lot of attempts to be ambiguous on both sides, or make it so that if you do nothing, it would work out best for you personally. And that's what really sucks. But I think that is changing right now because of course, the fact that everything is tied together. The aid for Israel and Ukraine and everything after recent events in Israel. Oh, here we go. We saw in October that there is no easy fix, and that's because the problem is not the speaker, the problem is the party. Pressed on whether Johnson's role in advancing foreign aid bills would make Goldman more willing to save him, the New York Democrat said, everyone on our side recognizes that in the face of significant opposition and threats from extortionists on the extreme MAGA wing of his party, that he has stood up to do the right thing because he recognizes that Congress and the House must govern. Representative Richie Neal, a Democrat from Massachusetts, told reporters it was, quote, premature to answer whether he'd save Johnson. Mike Johnson doesn't answer questions on the ouster threats. Speaker Mike Johnson walked to the House floor without commenting on efforts from GOP Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene to oust him from leadership. When asked whether he expected a motion to vacate, a rarely used procedural tool to remove the House Speaker, Johnson did not respond and continued to walk to the floor. Asked by CNN whether he sees the attempt by Greene as an empty threat, Johnson did not comment. That's interesting. How the foreign aid package could lead to a TikTok ban? Okay, hold on. What comes after this section? Let's just go to this, because I've put the article out there for anyone who wants to read the rest. I really don't care about if there'll be a TikTok ban or not, if I'm being honest. Here's what I don't even use TikTok. Here's what foreign aid the House bills would provide. Yes, I agree. I don't like TikTok. I mean, at the end of the day, people just use VPNs to get around a ban. Let me tell you this, that's what people do in Texas regarding recent websites that were blocked. I won't mention what those specific websites are, but maybe some of you know what those are. But yeah, very recently, there are multiple websites in the U.S. state of Texas that you can no longer access using an IP from Texas. So you just get a VPN. People act like Gen Z don't know how to get around, you know, uh, basically hollow, meaningless Western internet bans because it's not China or North Korea or Iran. People, it's not that hard to get around, and there really aren't that many consequences usually for basic websites that should be legally accessible and apps, etc. In any case, I'm not going to use it. I don't like TikTok. Israel's Iron Dome air defense system intercepts rockets launched from Gaza on October 11th. The House is set to vote Saturday on a nearly 95. Sorry. Someone said ban mobile phones. On a nearly $95 billion package, which includes 3 bills that aim to provide aid to Ukraine, Israel, and the Indo-Pacific region. Here's what's included in the bills, according to a summary provided by House Republicans earlier this week. Nearly $61 billion for Ukraine. About $23 billion would be used to replenish U.S. weapons stockpiles and facilities. $11 billion would fund current U.S. military operations in the region. Nearly $14 billion would help Ukraine buy advanced weapons systems and other defense equipment. Right there. 14 billion. I don't have 14 billion. You don't have 14 billion. Apparently, Europeans barely have a few 100 million or 1 or 2 billion usually to give. 14 billion would be very helpful, everybody. That alone would be very useful for months to come. More than $26 billion for Israel. $4 billion for the Iron Dome and David Sling missile defense systems. $1.2 billion for the Iron Beam. Defense system which counters short-range rockets and mortar threats. $4.4 billion to replenish defense items and services provided to Israel. $3.5 billion for the procurement of advanced weapons systems and other items through the Foreign Military Financing Program, and $9.2 billion in humanitarian assistance. More than $8 billion for the Indo-Pacific region. $3.3 billion to develop submarine infrastructure, $2 billion in foreign military financing for Taiwan and other key allies. That's important. Taiwan needs a bit. In fact, after Ukraine, I would say Taiwan is very important, guys. Taiwan does not get enough attention or support, and that's not good because it means one of two things. It means either the U.S. isn't going to help Taiwan in their time of need and is going to let China do whatever they want, or the U.S. is going to be woefully unprepared and, Taiwan will be woefully unprepared, and the U.S. will have to send soldiers, send ships in to fill the gap. If you want proper deterrence, there needs to be more that goes to Taiwan. Anyway, not directly related to Ukraine, but still an important matter. $1.9 billion to replenish defense items and services provided to Taiwan and regional partners. So let's go back to Ukraine. $8 billion for everyone else, $26 billion for Israel, and $61 billion for Ukraine. The big thing, I want to really, really highlight this. I want to really emphasize, underscore, make sure everyone is seeing this. $61 billion for Ukraine, $26 billion for Israel. Ukraine is getting the lion's share of this and needs the lion's share of this, and that is incredibly important. That's something that I strongly appreciate. And yeah, we need to see this happen, everybody. We can talk tomorrow about, larger amounts of aid going to maybe like Taiwan. Israel is good, okay? I don't foresee the only time that I think the U.S. would need to give an incredible amount of aid to Israel or actively put troops on the ground in that region would be if every single one of Israel's neighbors attacked Israel all at once, again. And in the modern era, the current climate around the world, I don't see that happening. The most I see is more of the fighting with Hamas, what's left of Hamas, and potentially some issues with Hezbollah. and the strikes with Iran like we've seen. But yeah, nah. Israel's not in a bad spot. Right this second. Ukraine is and Taiwan is. Put support where it's needed. Prioritize. All right, now then we're already about 2 hours in. We're gonna cover a little bit more news, and then I gotta go, everybody. All right. Next. Let me check my messages. Also, video and shorts updates are going to be coming. I find it ironic that everything happened with reporting from Ukraine right after I put my video about them up here recently. So please go show them support. Maybe consider doing backups if you know how to do so. In case anything happens to some of their important channels. But yeah. Videos and shorts will be coming soon. I just have a lot of stuff going on with my own personal life I need to do. And let's see. I'm probably going to try to do a few more streams here pretty soon, especially so I can see about having it all set up the way I want it in OBS rather than using Restream, although I do like both. So keep a lookout for that stuff. Oh, right. I guess we didn't actually talk about Sparts yet, because Sparts wasn't mentioned in here. Hold on. You know what? Let's see if there's a mention of Sparts here. Nope, there's none. Okay, hold on one sec. Because that is actually important. Let's take a look at that. And then we'll close out with some good news. Oh, wow. And she is Ukrainian born. Wow. I'm actually surprised I haven't been more familiar with Victoria Sparts, because I'm guessing she either must not have very strong ties to Ukraine, or if she does, maybe ties to groups in Ukraine that are not the most, maybe not the best to support. Interesting. All right, anyway. Yeah, what's fascinating is I'm not seeing a whole lot right here. Oh, here we go. And this is actually from a Ukrainian website, Ukrainska Pravda. This is from 1 day ago. I'll put the link in chat right now. So from 1 day ago, Republican Sparts suggests removing military aid for Ukraine from Johnson's bill. Ukrainian-born Congresswoman Victoria Sparts has submitted several amendments to the bill on supplementary funding for Ukraine, which provide for reducing military aid and removing financial aid. Also, from my understanding, she's not very fond of Volodymyr Zelensky. So I don't know. She's from Ukraine. But let's see here. Chernihiv. Hold on. Is she from Chernihiv? Regardless, the real issue here though is, okay, so she's from Ukraine, but she's American, she's a representative in the US. Is she actually supportive of Ukraine winning this war? If she's not for Zelensky, if she's trying to remove aid to Ukraine in this time of need, you know, I'm very curious now if she does have any ties to domestic parties in Ukraine. Domestic Ukrainian politics is actually, I don't actually talk about it a whole lot, mostly because I don't want to, I don't know. Actually, maybe I should. First of all, I'm not Ukrainian, so I think it would be very easy for me to accidentally step on a landmine and discuss something that would make a lot of my Ukrainian friends who are streamers say, no, you don't know what you're talking about on this or that topic. But second of all, it's politics. Politics will quickly remove rose-tinted lens. And just like any country, the politics in Ukraine, it's messy, everybody, from what I have learned. Anyway, one of Spartz's sources, European Pravda, details one of Spartz's amendments proposes to remove the provisions related to the PDA program, which allows the White House to supply Ukraine with armaments directly from U.S. Army stockpiles. The bill by Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House of Representatives, suggests an amount of $7.8 billion US dollars. Two more amendments concern economic aid for Ukraine mentioned in Johnson's bill. Spartz suggests removing the clause about over $7.8 billion of loan aid and banning the U.S. president from writing off Ukraine's debt under certain conditions. Yeah, okay, come on. Okay, that's ridiculous. You're born in this country. You are in another country that could provide everything that's needed for the place that you're born, your birthland, to fend off an enemy invasion, and you're saying no and don't write off the debts? I mean, I get it. Money is money, but that's absolutely ridiculous. And very much would make me want question. Anyway. The Fourth Amendment removes $481 million of funding from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services for the refugees, and the Fifth proposes to forbid the countries affected by the war in Ukraine from using the funds within the FMF program, ordering weapons directly from the manufacturers to cover the needs of a U.S. ally. This is just general undermining, making it impossible to order directly from manufacturers. Nah, man. Yeah, I don't care. Come on. That's ridiculous. I don't care if you are from Ukraine. If you're doing that much to undermine Ukraine, at that point, someone's going to have to ask, whose side are you really on? Earlier, Spartz refused to support any funding for Kiev in Congress other than for lethal aid and is making measures for securing the U.S. border a condition. Other than lethal aid. Yeah, all of that up above, that's still really bad. So, I mean, does she have a concern about corruption or something? Is she saying no, like, it's just give Ukraine weapons and that's it? It doesn't sound like it because based on all of this up here, it's just making it more difficult to get weapons there in the first place. The Ukrainian package calls for the allocation of approximately $61 billion US dollars to assist Ukraine and its supporters. The bill's final vote should take place on Saturday evening, April 20th. After this stream, call your representatives, everybody. Leave a voicemail. I know it's Saturday. They're voting today. Do it anyway. Just leave a voicemail. Let them know how you want them to vote. U.S. President Joe Biden expressed his readiness to sign, if approved by Congress, bills on supplemental funding for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure there's more I can find, but that's a decent, brief summary. I had not heard of Spartz before this, but I will be doing my homework now to learn a bit more. Anyway, We won't have time to go over everything else that I've got here on the news list, but I'm going to go ahead and put a bunch of them into. We're going to cover one more piece of news, and I'm going to put several more into the chat just since we didn't have time to cover all of it. Yeah. Oh. Oh, it passed? It finally passed? Okay, good. I'm glad that you guys are paying attention to that in addition to this stream and keeping me informed, because now, yeah, okay, very good. Let me take a look. Guys, if this actually passed right here during the stream, I will be incredibly happy. Let's see. I'm not going to jump the gun because I don't have confirmation on this. Let's see. Just doing a quick glance, I'm not seeing an immediate confirmation. You know, I'm just taking a look on Google. If anyone has a direct link to some cover. Oh, here we go. The Ukraine update today with Jake Bro and more guests. Yes, I will be. Thank you, CF Beauty. On the shells, I will be joining, and I won't be able to stay probably for the whole thing, unfortunately, because my life is just a series of me having to run from one appointment to the next. But I am going to be there probably for a good hour or so. From what I can see, I'm not seeing confirmation of it done yet. Maybe there's murmurings that it's likely to pass, but until there actually is confirmation I can find of it being done, of it passing, I'm assuming that there's still, because it's not evening time yet. It said that it was going to be a vote done this evening, and it's only, it's afternoon right now in Washington, D.C. Hopefully by this evening or tomorrow morning, we will have some good news. Oh, Sky News has it live. Voting on her amendment. Oh, Manu is asking, can I wear my mask on the shows? I mean, yeah, I can. I just like the owl. And also, I'm sometimes in a hurry and just like running from something else, so I prefer to have my camera off. But yeah, I can wear the mask on the shows. I'll probably go back and forth, sometimes the owl and sometimes the mask. Okay. Hello. Okay, there we go. I do not know what is up with OBS today. Maybe it's because I got too many things open and my computer's been on for like 3 days, so maybe it's because it needs a break. But anyway, okay. I think you guys can hear me now. Give me a plus plus if you can hear me. Because this freaking thing keeps randomly deciding to stop working. Still no audio? Okay, there it goes. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can figure out what's happening with that. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Anyway, so wait, the amendment failed? Let's see. I hope not. Wait, I'm sorry. Actually, hold on. The amendment was her amendment, which we didn't want to pass, which actually would be good. Let me just pull this up so I can see. One sec, everybody. Okay. Yeah, I think it's just my computer. I think after this I need to give it a little bit of a rest. Because I'm trying to watch this live coverage and it's not wanting to load properly. Okay, you know what? This will be better. I'm just going to do it from my phone. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm seeing now Florida Part B agreement on agreeing to the amendment. Yeah, the amendment is getting way more nays than yays. And I'm guessing that's Spart's amendment that was proposed, the one that was going to gut the bill. Okay. All right, hold on. Okay, let's put the background back on for right now. All right. Okay. Well, yeah, from what I can see right now, it's 150 yays to 275 nays. So the amendment will not pass. No audio. There should be audio. You guys can't hear me? Hold on. Hey, Salt of the Red Earth. Thanks for joining. All right. Well, everybody, you know what? Shoot, I should have done this. Okay. Well, we're going to close out with one last piece of news, good news. And I'm going to drop the link right now for you guys after this stream to go check out. I actually prefer CNBC over Sky News, so I'm going to drop that link. But if you look it up on YouTube, it's pretty easy. You can find it. Ukraine Matters is also talking about it, it looks like, or put a video up. Come on. Here we go. Okay, so there's a link to CNBC, or you can use another, watch another station's coverage of the vote if you like. But go check that out after you're done here. I'll probably have it on in the background while I go take care of the other stuff I need to do today. And let's close out. Oh, first let me check questions. Nope, no more questions. All right. All right, here we go. Putting the last article into chat right now. Oh, but before I do that, let me put a bunch of the other articles we didn't get a chance to cover so you guys can go check them out. Ooh, this next one I'm putting in to chat is a good one about from The Guardian or Kiev Independent. About half of British military defense funds for Ukraine remaining unused. So definitely go check that out. That some of the things that were purchased wouldn't reach Ukraine until spring of 2025. Ooh. All right. There are too many, so I can't do all of these links because I'm going to flood you guys with them. There's one more. And now we're going to jump to the last article of the day. If the next amendment fails, then the main bill will be what's voted on. Okay, good. I hope the main bill is voted on and it passes. So strike down those watered down amendments and get everything to Ukraine that they need. All right. So let's do this last piece of news and close out, everybody. U.S. envoy on Ukraine's economic recovery says reconstruction process already underway by Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. Iran and Israel appeared to be easing off sanctions and rhetoric that could lead to a wider Middle East conflict after a series of apparent retaliatory attacks, the latest of which featured a suspected Israeli strike on sites near the central Iranian city of Isfahan. Tehran on April 20th downplayed the scope and impact of the reported Israeli attack that appeared to be in retaliation for an unprecedented air attack the Islamic Republic launched last weekend on its sworn enemy. Explosions rang out early on April 19th, the 85th birthday of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. I see his name spelled different ways. Maybe I guess it's because of the way it goes from Farsi to Latin alphabet to English pronunciations. I see it Khamenei and I see Khomeini. So I see both. And I wonder which is more correct. And that makes me want to learn Farsi, but then I have to remind my ADHD brain I've got too many other things to do. Near the central city of Isfahan, with reports unclear over the cause, while several major U.S. media organizations quoted U.S. government sources as saying Israel had launched an attack on targets inside Iran. Iranian state media quoted officials in Tehran as saying the explosions were caused by air defense systems that shot down 3 drones. Israel has not commented on the report. Reuters, citing 3 sources familiar with the matter, reported that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's war cabinet initially approved plans for a strike inside Iranian territory to respond forcefully to Tehran's April 14th missile and drone strike, but backed off at the last minute. The sources said 3 voting members of the war cabinet ruled out the most dramatic strike, an attack on Iran's nuclear facilities and other sites that would likely have provoked a wider conflict. The Reuters report said Netanyahu faced cabinet divisions and strong warnings from allies, including Washington, not to escalate matters, leading to 2 postponements of the limited strikes that eventually were launched. It doesn't surprise me that these were launched. Here's the thing. The whole thing about the Iranian strike, it was not a surprise attack. It was not meant to bring Israel to its knees or anything. It was quite a few drones. But Iran would have had other options if they really wanted to hurt Israel. Iran's attack was grandiose for a domestic audience and really testing what is Israel going to do? Are they going to do something? Are they going to do nothing? So a huge retaliatory response, striking nuclear facilities. Then Iran would have had to say, okay, now we have to actually, up the ante even more. This limited strike, where there was a bit of a delay, something still happened, so you can still go to the domestic Israeli population and say, look, we didn't just sit on our hands and do nothing. We're not sending a message that this is normal and Iran can do this again. But at the same time, it's kind of like both sides playing chicken. Like, what can we get away with doing that's not going to provoke a war, but is still going to make those who, how do I word this? Make our domestic populations who really don't like the other side appeased. What can we do that's a show of strength, basically? So both sides are calculating exactly what they should do in order to maintain their credibility while at the same time not escalating. So it's a very dark waltz of war, or waltz of war prevention through military action. Which is, if that sounds oxymoronic, it's because it is, as well as moronic. The Reuters report said Netanyahu faced cabinet divisions and strong warnings from allies, including Washington, not to escalate matters, leading to 2 postponements of limited strikes. Okay, there's a lot in Israel here. Where's the reconstruction process? Hold on. Does this have the wrong article listed? I thought it was just going to lead. I thought it was going to lead into the reconstruction information a bit more. Hold on. That's very odd. Yeah, I'm stopping myself because I'm realizing that it's not actually shifting over to anything about Ukraine here. Okay, hold on one sec, everybody. Let me check this. Let's just switch it back to normal. Did they actually put the wrong information? That's really weird. I don't know why that loaded the wrong news report, but you know what? We're just going to go into the Ukraine side now. I don't know why it had a whole bunch of stuff about Israel and Iran all of a sudden. Sorry, everybody. That was weird. It glitched out. All right. U.S. envoy on Ukraine's economic recovery says reconstruction process already underway. Penny Pritzker said it's important to start now because a functioning Ukrainian economy is key both to its war effort and to achieve its Euro-Atlantic goals. The United States and Ukraine's other partners have, from Washington, the United States and Ukraine's other partners have already started working on Ukraine's economic recovery, even as Kyiv focuses on defending itself, because both Kyiv and its partners know that part of Putin's war strategy is to try and destroy Ukraine's economy, said the U.S. Special Envoy for Ukraine's economic recovery. Penny Pritzker, a former U.S. Commerce Secretary who was appointed to the post by President Joe Biden, told a briefing in Washington on April 17th that she and other partners have been working with Ukrainians and Kyiv's allies in both the public and private sectors to strengthen the economic environment to enable private sector investment. She said it's important to start now because a functioning Ukrainian economy is key both to its war effort and to achieving its Euro-Atlantic goals. In order to defeat Russian President Vladimir Putin, it is not only going to take a sustained commitment from governments, but also increased private sector engagement like a business advisory council to be more agile and responsive to the complex and rapidly changing environment in Ukraine, said Pritzker, who served as Commerce Secretary from 2013 to 2017. Among the work already complete is the creation of a multi-donor coordination plan, MDCP, that last week held its first steering committee meeting in Kyiv. Oh, it passed? Oh, okay. Well, this is good news. We're going to close. We got one piece of good news that's actually properly loaded now, and even better news now. And I can see people dropped off, probably because it's passed and they're probably over on other channels now watching the live coverage. Okay, that's awesome. Hold on. MDCP is on track to launch a business advisory council at the Ukraine Recovery Conference in June. The conference, which will be hosted by Germany and held in Berlin, will be an opportunity for Ukrainians to showcase their progress on various reforms. It'll also provide an opportunity for partner countries to highlight the support they have available and for the private sector to showcase what it can bring to the table, she said. All right. So anyway, the bottom line is for economic recovery, this is good news. It's looking like there will be increased private sector investment and assistance to Ukraine regarding getting back on its feet after this war is over. The Ukrainian economy, just like its military, remains alive, active, and resilient. The country's GDP is expected to grow at around 4% in 2024 after 5% growth last year, and state revenue increased 25% in January 2024 over the same month the previous year, she said. For a country that's gone through as much as Ukraine, going from 5% down to 4%, it's great they were able to maintain it close to that as far as growth goes. That's not bad. All right. Anyway, good news, guys. Go buy Made in Ukraine products. I've got a few videos about them. Invest in Ukraine. Support Ukraine. Now then. All right. Okay, you know what? Even if this... Oh, wait, no. I've got those audio issues where it was having the weird echo. Okay, even if there's no audio, I want to have something up on the screen. So hold on a sec. I don't care if this particular video has an issue or something. I don't think it will. Anyway, let me pull this up. Oh, wow. DW News is also covering it. You know what? We're going to pull it up on DW. I'll give Germany some love. Deutsche Welle. Oh, that's right. My computer is acting funny. Let's see if it'll work here. Okay, I have to wait for this ad to finish. And I'm going to mute it because I don't trust it to not have audio echo like before. But let's do this. Ah, you got to be kidding me. Right after they changed it. Hold on. Come on. On passage. 363 yay, 34 nay. Hold on. Is this the right thing that they were voting on? Yeah, that should be the aid package, right? And the final vote was... Oh, wait. Motion to recommit. Hold on. Okay, 3 didn't vote. I wonder who they are. No nays from Democrats. All right. So it has passed. So yeah, everybody. This is really good to see. And DW, please don't give me any flack for putting this up because this is a really important occasion. I guess I'll move this because this is probably confusing. This is not the vote. This was the vote on whether or not they recommit, which I guess is kind of like reconvene. But yeah, let's see. Florida Part B Amendment number 4 on agreement. So that was the amendment. Come on. This was to recommit. Now where? On passage. Here we go. On passage, the final vote was... Pause. 311 to 112. 311 yeas to 112 nays. Time remaining 0-0. And it has passed, everybody. Everyone who made calls to their representatives, let me say this right now. All of you who are watching the screen, who are still here as we're closing out the stream, if you're someone who, if you've done it once, or if you're like me and you've done it quite a few times over the past few months, call your representatives, tell them thank you if they voted yay. If they voted nay, please tell them that you strongly emphasize how important the bill was and you hope that they'll vote differently next time because your vote does hinge on it. And yeah, be respectful, but go say thank you because this is historic. This is very important. And now the real work begins. Getting the aid there, making sure that Ukraine is getting everything it needs. And, we got to hit the ground running with, all right, calculating how long is it going to last? When is another round going to be needed? Is it in 6 months? Is it in a year? And despite the fact that it was an overwhelming number of yays and was finally introduced, we may see more chaos. We may see Mike Johnson. Is that him in the corner over there? I'm not going to zoom in. Removed from office or an attempt to remove him. And there were still 112 nays. So, yeah. There may be an attempt to push back if more aid is needed in the future. Keep an eye on the news, everyone. Thank you for being here. Slava Ukraini. And remember, support the Ukrainian armed forces. Support humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Keep being awesome. I'll see you next time.